This video will explain how to do the clearing fractions additional examples and the solving inequalities additional examples. So number one, we have to look for a common denominator. So 5, 6, and 2 all have a common denominator of 30, and that's actually the smallest. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply each of these fractions by 30, even the one on the other side of the equal sign. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to take each one and I'm going to clear the fraction. And what you're thinking of, and if you need to do this off to the side, that's fine. What you're thinking of is 2 over negative 5 times 30 over 1. Okay, so you're going to see what do 5 and 30 both have in common, and then you're going to divide. So 5 and 30 have 5 in common. So negative 5 divided by 5. I'm dividing by 5. Okay, so that would be negative 1. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Now I'm just going to multiply straight across. So 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And then I can simplify that to negative 12. Okay, so this first term becomes negative 12m. And I also have to do 1/6 times 30. So again, you can write it off to the side if you need to. So 1/6 times 30 over 1. So 6 and 30 both have 6 in common. I'm going to divide by 6. So that would give me 1 and 5. So 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. That simplifies to just 5. The next part of my equation becomes plus 5 and then equals. And now on the other side, I have to do the same thing. So 3/2 times 30 over 1. So 2 and 30 both have 2 in common. So I'm going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And now I multiply straight across. 3 times 15 is 45. 1 times 1 is 1. That simplifies to just 45. So then in my equation, I would write equals 45. Now it's just a regular train track problem, right? So I'm going to take away 5 from both sides. That would leave me with negative 12m equals 40, and then divide by negative 12. So m would be negative 3 1/3. All right, number 2, a common denominator for 3, 6, 2, and 4 is 12. That's the smallest. So I'm going to multiply each of these terms by 12. Okay, you can write it separately or you can distribute with parentheses. Okay, so the first term, 2 times 12 is 24 plus. Now I need to figure out 1/3 of 12. Okay, so again, write it off to the side if you need to. 1/3 times 12 over 1. So 3 and 12 both have 3 in common. So if I divide by 3, I would get 1 and 4. So that leaves me with 4. So I'd put 4x right here, minus. Then I'm going to do the same thing for 5/6. So 5/6 times 12. 6 and 12 can both be divided by 6. That would leave me with 1 and 2. 5 times 2 is 10. So I would put minus 10 right here. And then half of 12, that's easier to figure out, but if you're not sure, you could write it out. 1/2 times 12. 2 and 12 can both be divided by 6. Divided by 2. So that would leave me with 1 and 6. So 1 times 6 is 6. So that would be 6x right here. And then I have to do 3/4 times 12 as well. So just keep moving up here. So 3/4 times 12 over 1. So 4 and 12 can both be divided by 4. So that would leave me with 1 and 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So then I would write plus 9 on the end. Okay, now it's just a regular train track problem. So 24 minus 10 are like terms. That would be 14 plus 4x equals 6x plus 9. Then I'm going to get the x's on the same side, so minus 4x. That would leave me with 14 equals 2x plus 9. Then take the 9 away from both sides. So 5 equals 2x. Divide by 2. So x would be 2 1/2. All right, number 3, Mallory went on a shopping trip. She spent half of her money on shoes, a third on a shirt, and 1/10 to take her friend out to lunch, and came home with $12. How much did she start with? Okay, so that's the X, right? How much did she start with? So whatever she started with, if she's spending money, that's getting taken away, right? So X minus, and then she spent half her money on shoes. Well, we don't know what she started with, so we have to use X again. And then half of that would be like dividing by 2. You could also say 1/2 times X. And then again, she's spending a third on a shirt, so X over 3. And then 1/10 to take her friend out to lunch, so X over 10. And then she has $12 left over, so equals 12. So the only common denominator for 2, 3, and 10 is 30. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing times 30. So X times 30 is 30X. Half of 30 is 15, so 15X. A third of 30 is 10X. And 1/10 of 30 is 3X. And then I also have to do 30 times 12, which is 360. All right, so now I have a bunch of like terms that I could combine right here. 30 minus 15 minus 10 minus 3 is 2X equals 360, and then I would divide by 2. So that means she started with $180. Next one, Greg's gas tank is 1/5 full. After he buys 6 gallons of gas, it's 7/10 full. How many gallons can Greg's gas tank hold? So that would be your X. So when it says Greg's gas tank is 1/5 full, well, we don't know like 1/5 of what, right? We don't know the total, so 1/5 X. Then he bought 6 gallons, so plus 6. And now it's 7/10 full. So again, we have to say 7/10 X because we don't know what the total amount is if it was full. So now we're going to do a common denominator for 5 and 10, which would be 10. So 1/5 of 10. Again, if you need to do that off to the side, you're basically thinking of 1/5 times 10 over 1. Well, 5 and 10 can both be divided by 5, so that would leave me with 1 and 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So that would be 2X. 10 times 6 is 60, and then 7/10 times 10 works the same way, so 7/10 times 10 over 1. Well, 10 and 10 can both be divided by 10, right? So that would leave me with 1 and 1. So 7 times 1 is 7. So that would be 7X on this side. Now I'm just doing train track, so I'm going to get 2X taken away on both sides, so 60 equals 5X, and then divide by 5, so X is 12. So he has a 12-gallon tank. All right, now we're going to go into the solving inequalities examples. So everything here is also the same, except if you multiply or divide by a negative. So let's see if that happens on these. So I'm going to start by getting y on the same side. So 3y minus 18 equals negative 12. Then I'm going to get the 18 out of there by adding it. So 3y, sorry, this should be less than, is less than 6, and then divide by 3. Since I did not divide by a negative, I do not need to flip the sign. So that would just be y is less than 2. And then if I were to graph it, you just need 2 in the middle, and then a number higher and a number lower. So this would be an open circle on 2, and then y has to be less than that. So all the numbers that are less than 2 are to the left. So you would shade on the left. Next one, we have to distribute first. So 4 times m is 4m minus 4 times 4.5 is 18, and then plus 8, and then 6m. So I have like terms right here. So 4m minus 10 is less than or equal to 6m. I'm going to get the 4m out of there. So negative 10 is less than or equal to 2m. I'm not dividing by a negative, so I don't have to flip the sign. So negative 5 is less than or equal to m, and then I have to graph it. So again, I would put -5 in the middle, one number above that, one number below that. This would be a closed circle because -5 would be included. And then -5 is less than -4. So that's the direction that I would take. And then finally, the word problem. So Joe took out student loans during college, and at the end of college, he had $36,000 of debt, interest-free. So because it's a debt, that would be -36,000. Joe repaid the debt, $8,000 per year, so plus 8,000 Y. And then after that, he began saving 8,000 per year, so plus another 8,000 Y. And then Joe's college friend Steve had no college debt and started saving 4,000 per year after college. Write an expression to solve for when Joe will have more money than Steve. So we want this to be greater than 4,000 Y. Okay, so now to start solving this, we could combine 8,000 and 8,000. So that would be -36,000 plus 16,000 Y is greater than 4,000 Y. We want to take away the 16,000 Y to get the Y's on the same side. So now we end up with, move this up a little bit here, -36,000 is greater than -12,000 Y. And then we would divide by -12,000. Because we're dividing by a negative on this one, we have to flip the sign. So -36,000 divided by -12,000 is 3, and we switch the sign. So 3 is greater than Y. And then to graph that, we're going to put 3 in the middle, a number below it like 2, a number above it like 4. This would be an open circle because 3 is not included, and 3 is less than 4. So we would shade going that way.